The ocean is home to all kinds of living things, including this seaweed found along the shore, this giant kelp living in deep water, this starfish living in rocky tidal pools, and these sea anemones with their numerous tentacles, as well as hundreds of species of fish and larger animals such as sharks and seals. While all these living things are easily seen, the oceans contain thousands of other organisms that are invisible to the naked eye. The kingdom Protista contains a group of organisms called protists. What are protists? What do they look like? And how do they go about living? During the next few minutes, we're going to explore many of the fascinating characteristics of protists and take a look at how they affect our lives. You decide. What similarities do you see between these protists? If you said that they're small, then you're right. Although they are all small, protists come in a wide variety of shapes, sizes, and colors. So what makes a protist a protist? Protists are single-celled or multicellular organisms that contain a nucleus and are therefore known as eukaryotic cells. Protists tend to live in wet environments, such as the ocean, lakes, or wetlands. While many protists, such as this paramecium, live a solitary existence, others, such as volvox, live in groups or colonies. Some protists, like this Euglena, have the ability to create their own food via the process of photosynthesis, while other protists, such as this Amoeba, eat other organisms for sustenance. Still other protists, such as this slime mold, survive by decomposing once living organisms. Protists, therefore, can be plant-like, animal-like, or fungus-like. Let's first take a look at the plant-like protists. You decide. What organisms produce the color pattern seen here in this image of the Earth's oceans? Phytoplankton, microscopic plants floating on top of the ocean, produce the computer-enhanced color patterns. Phytoplankton consists of a wide variety of plant-like organisms that serve as the base of the food chain in oceans and lakes. Most life, directly or indirectly, depends on these plant-like protists. In fact, phytoplankton contribute over half of the world's oxygen supply. When you swim in an ocean or lake, you're swimming in millions of phytoplankton. Plant-like protists, also known as algae, have the ability to create food from sunlight. Some algae, such as this cell, are unicellular, while others, such as this kelp, are multicellular. There are 6 main groups of algae. Let's now take a look at them. This amazing little creature, called a Euglena, is part plant and part animal. It contains green chloroplasts that enable it to carry out photosynthesis. When light is not present, however, it also has the ability to eat other organisms for use as food and energy. A whip-like structure, called a flagellum, enables this Euglena to move through water. Believe it or not, when you use toothpaste to brush your teeth, you're using protists called diatoms. Diatoms are photosynthetic, one-celled algae. They take on a wide variety of shapes and sizes. The shells of diatoms contain glassy silica, giving toothpaste its slightly gritty texture. Diatoms have long existed in large numbers in the oceans. Over thousands of years, dead diatoms have accumulated on the ocean floor, forming large deposits that we mine today. Today, diatoms are used to make such things as reflective road paint and polishing creams, such as car wax. Perhaps you've had the opportunity to eat clams or mussels, animals that live inside shells. Among other things, these animals feed on microscopic plant-like organisms called dinoflagellates, which they filter from the water. Often called fire algae, some types of dinoflagellates contain a red pigment. Occasionally, certain kinds of dinoflagellates carrying poisonous toxins reproduce so quickly that they become a threat to other organisms, like fish and shellfish. When eaten by humans, severe illness may result. This overabundance of poisonous dinoflagellates is referred to as red tide poisoning. Most dinoflagellates possess a cell wall that looks like plates of armor. They also have hair-like flagella that propel them through water. You decide. What gives this seawater its greenish color? That's right, thousands of microscopic green algae. There are over 7,000 species of green algae worldwide, found mostly in oceans, lakes, and rivers. Some algae, however, can live on the moist bark of trees, and even in the fur of animals, such as this sloth found in the rainforest. While many kinds of algae are single-celled, other green algae, such as volvox, live in groups or colonies that may include several thousand cells. Still others, like this Spirogyra, form long chains. Do you enjoy eating ice cream or pudding? If so, then you're eating a substance which contains a compound derived from another type of algae, red algae. This red algae, called Irish moss, is found along ocean shores. It produces a compound called carrageenan, which is used as a thickener in many foods such as ice cream. Red algae is so named because it contains a pigment that gives it a reddish color. You decide. What kind of algae is this kelp? If you said brown algae, then you're right. Kelp, a large brown alga, can form tall kelp forests. Often found along the California coast, kelp forests provide habitat for a wide variety of ocean animals. Brown algae produce a compound called algin, often used to give marshmallows their thick texture. This type of protist, called a protozoan, exhibits many animal-like characteristics. Protozoa have a nucleus, but do not have a cell wall. They're heterotrophs, meaning that they need to eat other organisms for energy and survival. There are 4 main groups of protozoa. Let's first take a look at the group called Sarcodynes. This strange-looking creature is a type of sarcodyne called an amoeba. Amoebas have no definite shape. They have the ability to extend their cell membranes and cytoplasm into foot-like extensions called pseudopods. Amoebas use pseudopods to move and engulf food. One problem that many sarcodynes encounter is the continual seeping of water into their cells. This is where a structure called a contractile vacuole helps. It collects excess water and then squirts it back outside the cell. You decide. What small structures cover this ciliate? If you said tiny hairs or cilia, you're right. A group of protists called ciliates possess small hairs called cilia. The cilia act like oars on a boat, propelling the ciliate through water. This paramecium uses cilia to move and to sweep food into its mouth, called the oral groove. Another group of animal-like protists are the zooflagelets. Zooflagelets move by means of a whip-like flagellum. One zooflagelet, with which you may be familiar, is this organism, known as Giardia. Giardia causes intestinal problems by attaching to the walls of the small intestine. People often swallow the Giardia zooflagelet when drinking lake or stream water. While the water may look and taste clean, it could possess harmful Giardia. Therefore, it's a good idea to bring your own water with you while hiking or camping, no matter how clean the water may look. Sporozoans are parasites that feed on the bodies of host animals, causing harm to the host. You've probably heard of a disease called malaria. Believe it or not, over 200 million people worldwide are still affected by this protist. Malaria is caused by a sporozoan called Plasmodium. Sporozoans are protists that at one point in their lives form cells called spores. In the case of malaria, the Plasmodium spores inhabit mosquitoes, which transmit the disease by biting people. The spores infect the liver and blood cells, resulting in a high fever and chills. If medical attention is not received immediately, death can result. Ireland's Great Potato Famine of 1845 and 1846 cost the deaths of 1/3 of Ireland's people and forced hundreds of thousands more to leave the island. You decide. What damaged the potato crop? A type of fungus-like protist, referred to as water mold, is the parasite responsible for destroying most of the Irish potato crop. Slime molds are another type of fungus-like protist that you might have seen growing on dead logs or plants in the forest. Slime molds commonly appear in beautiful bright colors, as seen here. Slime molds reproduce by creating a fruity body that contains spores. Each spore has the capability to develop into a new organism. During the past few minutes, we've explored many different characteristics of protists. We studied what makes a protist and what kinds of environments protists live in. We looked at the structures of different protists. We also learned that there were different kinds of protists, including plant-like, animal-like, and fungus-like protists. We discovered that protists can be harmful, like the ones that cause red tide, but they can also be helpful in things such as reflective paint and car wax. So the next time you go swimming, brush your teeth, or think about drinking from a stream, remember the many ways protists affect our lives. You just might look at life a little differently. Fill in the correct word when you hear this tone. Good luck, and let's get started. Number 1. Protist cells contain a Number 2. Protists tend to live in environments. Number 3. Are plant-like protists living on the ocean surface? Number 4. Are one-celled algae containing silica? Number 5. Some dinoflagellates cause harmful Number 6. Green, red, and brown are common in lakes and oceans. Number 7. Exhibit animal-like characteristics. Number 8. This common sarcodyne is an Number 9. Ciliates possess small And number 10. Malaria is caused by a